So, I'm listening to Crystal and Soccer, and they said the thing where it was like, oh, if you support, military, if you support the military, then why aren't you in the military type thing? Oh, why don't you go on the front lines? And I hate that. I hate that so much. Because for me, it's a reductionist thought experiment that yields no practical answers, nothing practical. It's like being like, oh, I'm a Catholic, and then this is something that happened, right, in college. I was talking about religion with Asher, and then Andrew came and he was like, yeah, well, priests rape kids, and then he walks away feeling like he like checkmated. And I was like, well, no, hold on, like, what do you? And it's like, my whole thing is that to invalidate military service because there are people in the homeland who support the people in the military, to say, oh, we shouldn't have a military because not everyone in the country is in the military, right? That's because I feel like that's what it reduces to. Oh, if you think sending more troops to Afghanistan to help get our civilians out and our allies out is, if you support that, sending however many thousand more troops into Afghanistan to secure, city borders so that we can get civilians and allies out, well, then why don't you go do it, huh? What if one of those troops that we send dies, right? It's so insensitive to the people who join the military. It's so, the military shouldn't exist because not everyone is in it, right? It's so, I don't even know. I mean, I do know to begin where I do know how I feel. It's what I just said. But to be like, they can't, no one can serve because not everyone is serving, Oh, I have a foreign diplomacy opinion, but I wouldn't know. I'm not there. Like, it can be said for everything, and it is said for everything, right? And it's just the cheapest way for someone to be like, end of discussion, I'm right, you're wrong. I have opinions on abortion, right? I am not a woman, right? I have opinions on how the government should be run. I am not a congressperson. I am not in the Senate. I am not the president. Oh, if you think the president should be this, why aren't you the president? Oh, okay, you're right. You're right. Yeah, sorry, my bad. I have opinions on what we should do with homeless, right? Oh, you're not homeless. Oh, why does it matter? Why don't you go be homeless and then you can tell me, right? Oh, why don't you go escort civilians safely to an airfield in Kabul, and then you can tell me. It's so, I'm so heated. I just think it's such a horrible thing, right? It's just such a horrible thing to even suggest, right? Like, oh, it's so bad. Again, it's a reductionist thought experiment, and it's a reductionist thought experiment. End of discussion, right? Because I feel like by even engaging in a sort of thought experiment, it validates as it, being like, well, they chose to sign up for the military. They should, that's I've lost if I start saying something like that, right? But to point holes in the logic of it and be like, so what you're suggesting is that because I am not in the military, then we should not have a military, right? Because that's what you're saying. That to me is the logic of what you're saying. Oh, if I believe that it would have been a good idea to send more troops to Afghanistan so we can get out not only civilians but our equipment, you know, the billions of dollars worth of taxpayer military equipment, right? Oh, I think it would have been a good idea to send in thousands of troops so we can take out our Apache helicopters, so we can get out translators and stuff like that. Oh, really? Because if you think that's a good idea, then why don't you go do it? So our soldiers can't go. So you're saying our soldiers and our military cannot go do that because I am not in the military. And then to extrapolate, because everyone in the United States is not actively serving in the military, they cannot do that. That's what the logic is to me, right? And again, by engaging in the thought experiment is to already lose. Be like, oh well, I'm not in the military because I chose a different career path. Oh, I've lost. I've engaged in it. You know,